Welcome, everybody. It's Friday, July 14th, 14 juillet for those who celebrate. John Aravosis here in Washington, D.C., a stormy D.C., a dark and stormy night, coming to you live, talking about the latest news from Ukraine. As always, I will get my handy-dandy iPad rolling here. And hang on here. And we'll get TikTok rolling on the iPad. And then in the meantime, you guys introduce yourselves and say where you are from. And you can watch the rain out my window. Very exciting. Watch my grass plant fly everywhere. Hang on a second here. Live. The coloring is really off today because of the rain. It's funny. I'll have to adjust my camera. All right, I think we're good. Go live. All right. And then I will have to adjust. Oops, yes, my coloring is too high. There we go. Make myself a little bit. The lighting's going to be a little funny today, I think. Mirror camera. And now let's make sure that TikTok hasn't done some funny, weird. Oh, God, I just threw hippos on the screen. Oh, God. TikTok keeps defaulting these weird filters and stuff so that it just threw a bunch of limos on the screen with me, but I don't think anybody noticed on TikTok. Oh, it's very strange. I know. Stormy DC as well. Thank you, Lucy, for the gift there. It's a very stormy DC, which I tend to love. I adore stormy weather. My dog hates it. So I have a bit of a divided loyalty because she hasn't figured out yet that it's raining. When she figures out, she's going to be very upset. I slipped her a little doggy tranquilizer about 2 minutes ago. So hopefully by the time she sees it and figures it out, I mean, you guys, well, here, I guess the TikTokers can tell. It's hard for you to tell how bad it is. Now it's just all dark. It was this. Actually, I will show you the picture. I took a picture as it was rolling in because it was just an amazing. I like bad weather. I should have been a weatherman in my other life, clearly, because bad weather. La 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 la. That was thunder. La la la. We're hiding it. This was the picture as the storm was coming in, and this was literally how it looks. This is not doctored. To give you a sense of like that round cloud coming in, and the dog is jumping off the couch. She heard it. This is the picture of the storm coming in, just to give you a sense. That's what my view was 15 minutes ago. But you can see how it was that big round shelf coming in with the really dark, nasty color underneath. Really cool. I love bad weather. She, on the other hand, just jumped up and might be heading towards scaredom. Oh, well, anyway. But yes, the dog has been given her little doggy tranquilizer. Thank you, Arthur. So hopefully she can make it through the show okay. Yeah, it was a shelf cloud, exactly, like a shelf cloud coming in where it's the whole big, it's so discreet, meaning, defined. I love weather. I really should have been a weather person. It just makes me so. My plants outside are outdoor plants. They're fine. They're fine. Other than the tomato, the tomato hopefully survives, but all the other plants are outdoor plants. They're good. Anyway, welcome, guys. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. I might as well start the show. It's a Friday. Why not? I am coming to you live from Washington, D.C., balmy, rainy Washington, D.C., where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Thank you, Jen. And basically, the way the show works, thank you, Tom. First half of the show, I will give you guys the news I think matters. Second half of the show, I will take your guys' questions. I am also very happy to get the gifts like you guys have been doing on TikTok right now, because I do this full time. I've been doing this full time since the war started back in February of a year ago. And this is what I do for a living. So I make my money by I was going to say advertising. There is no advertising. I make my money by the gifts you guys give me, the memberships, all that kind of stuff. Thank you, John. So that's why I always sort of mention the gifts, because it actually does make a huge difference. So thank you, guys. The way they work. So I will always try to do a shout out as a thank you on TikTok when I see the big gifts fly up on the screen. I don't always see them, but usually I do. So I will do a shout out when I see them. On YouTube, of course, super chat, super stickers. I will always do a shout out for those. Thank you, Chief, by the way. Super chat questions. Thank you, Pedro. Super chat questions are the questions you actually pay for. Thank you, Big Hawk. You don't need to pay for questions, but if you pay for a question, I guarantee I will answer your question. And it's a question that I'll get to immediately. So thank you for that. And what else? I can't think of anything else. There's lots of other ways too. You can support me on YouTube by becoming a subscriber. The green, like Greg and Carlos. I love thunder. It makes me so happy. Thank you, Rebecca. And my dog is my polar opposite. She literally flips out in storms like this. So I feel bad because it's thundering and I am in like joy right now. And I know she's going to come up behind me, tail behind her leg, and she's going to just sit there looking at me like, oh, God, we'll see. We'll see. In any case, all right, guys, let me get rolling. So it's day 505 of Vladimir Putin's 3-day special military operation in Ukraine. Just a reminder that tomorrow morning we will have our coffee talk. Our coffee talk we do on TikTok and Discord for the paid subscribers. That's the paid subscribers on TikTok, paid YouTube, paid Discord, paid Ko-fi, paid Twitch. I think that should be it. All of you are welcome to join us. Either come on TikTok if you're a paid TikTok subscriber. If you're another paid subscriber for the other things, come over to the Discord and you'll see, I think it's called Weekly VIP, something like that. Thank you, Jack. But we'll be there at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. Thank you, Maverick. I may do, I've been thinking I may do a weekend review, a relaxed weekend review, because it is a coffee talk. We hang out, we have coffee, we talk, but I'll do kind of a relaxed weekend in review of the major news that happened in the last week in Ukraine. And Vlad will also join us. Hopefully Vlad will join us. It depends on how busy he is. So hopefully that happens too. Anyway, let me get rolling here. Thank you, Jetta. I know the video is being really weird tonight and I don't know why. So I'm trying to adjust it, but the video quality is just being very strange. There's not a lot I can do about it. It's just being funky. For you guys, it might be okay. It's being totally funky for the YouTubers, but I'll do one last look here at the video settings, but ain't much I can do about it, kiddos. Yeah, FaceTime camera, full resolution. Well, it's the best I can do. Yeah, it's being weird. Oh, well, you know these guys. I can put a little brighter, but then it washes me out. Like, I mean, right? But then it's kind of washed out that way, I think. All right, I'm going to stop messing around with this. All right, that's the best I can do. All right, well, anyway, c'est la vie. All right, guys, so lots of news today. Ukraine forces shot down 23 drones overnight from the Russians coming in, including 16 of 17 of the Iranian Shahed suicide drones, kamikaze drones, the Air Force reported. The U.S. is this is interesting news. Now, this came from Ukraine, so we don't know if this is true or not, but an angelic glow. I try to have my angelic glow here. See, the U.S. is very close to a decision on ATACMS long-range rockets or missiles for Ukraine. This, according to Ukraine's presidential office head. Now, I don't know if that's true. I mean, who knows at this point? Just one last time here. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to be whiter. This is as white as it gets, guys. I don't know if it's true, but it's very interesting the Ukrainians are saying that. Now, the ATACMS are the longer-range rockets, longer-range missiles that Ukraine's wanted for a while. They can be used on the HIMARS system. Thank you, Ali. And they go around 200 miles or 300 kilometers. Ukraine's been wanting them. Really important. Biden's been dragging his feet because he's afraid it's escalation and will make up Putin angry. I will say some people have said that perhaps Biden's worried about providing them because he's worried about an upcoming war with China over Taiwan, and perhaps he wants the systems for that because we don't have enough. I'm not quite sure we would be using those systems there, but nonetheless, the Ukrainians say a decision is near. Maybe it is. Thank you, Marcy. I will say this. I'm not sure the Ukrainians should be saying that publicly if a decision is near, to be honest, but let's see. In terms of the counteroffensive, Ukrainian forces advanced over 1,700 meters. That's a little over a mile in the Melitopol direction in a week, according to the deputy director, basically National Guard head in Ukraine. I will show you Melitopol. So Melitopol is down here. Now, they're not saying that they're in Melitopol because this is still occupied by the Russians. They're saying in the direction of Melitopol. That makes me think that it's probably, close my pen, probably in the area around here, because they've been fighting around here and around here. Probably in the area around here, they've gotten a mile closer to Melitopol. Okay, that's good news. Very good news. It's not a ton, but let me put it this way. When you've got it took the Russians forever to get any land. And then the land they lost quickly. I was saying yesterday, I don't like to make comparisons to the Russians because the Russians did so bad, but it's going to take a while for Ukraine to get their land back. And it is more important for Ukraine to get land than lose land at this point. And they are getting land back, which is good. Every day we're getting updates that pretty much are Ukraine advancing, but it's going to be slow. And, it's going to keep going, but it's going to be slow. Over the last few days in western Zaporizhia, a prominent Russian military blogger has claimed that Ukrainian forces captured a Russian stronghold northeast of Robotyne, a village in Zaporizhia. I was Googling it. It's more or less around here. So again, good news. Keep in mind, the Russian front with the Ukraine is pretty much here and then going up here. That's why we keep hearing of battles around here, right? Around here, south and north. Bakhmut, north of Bakhmut, Kupiansk, because the line cuts like this. Russians below, Russians to the east, Ukraine everywhere else. So anyway, again, good news. There have been some battles. The Ukrainians got another town back. It's one town, but hey, right? It's more important. What matters is it's going in the right direction. Ukraine also claims that it used a HIMARS missile system. Remember, these are the American missiles provided to I should say the American missile system and missiles provided to the Ukrainians, and they're mobile and they're deadly. These things are so accurate. I mean, HIMARS is super accurate, which is part of the danger. Also, these missiles can go anywhere from 50 miles to 200 miles if we give them the right missiles. That's part of the deal. We're trying to get the Ukrainians the longer ATACMS weapons, which can go 200 miles, which would be huge, right? In any case, the Ukrainians report that they used a HIMARS to destroy the S-400 missile system that hit the pizzeria in Kramatorsk, killing 13 people about a week or two ago. Remember? Kramatorsk all the way up here. I'm sorry, that's Kremenchuk. Kramatorsk all the way over here. The Russians hit a pizza parlor, claiming there were military men in there, but there were a ton of civilians in there. And the Ukrainians look like they got even by destroying the actual weapon system. And again, using the HIMARS, which is pretty wild. Cliff Wolf, since Ukraine has fast boats, new munitions, why the heck are there no Black Hawk Apache Cobras, and what has happened to the Javelins? I have no idea. You've asked that before, but I really don't know. I don't know what the story is for what helicopters they're getting or not getting. I do know, as we mentioned last time, some of the British helicopters, what are they? But they're the helicopters that can be used for search and rescue, but they can also be used for hunting submarines. I read that the Brits provided several. I've not heard anything about American helicopters, what's being provided or what isn't. I'm going to get to an F-16 story in a second. Let me see. Is that the next one? No. I will get to the F-16 story in a little bit. Okay, that was a little creepy. Sorry, that was one of those like fast blowing. We have a major storm going on here. That was one of those fast blowing winds that like shakes the window, and you kind of go, "What the hell was that?" Oh yeah, it's a nice storm tonight. I will say that. Like I said, I love a good storm. My dog hates a good storm. I don't know. I just don't know enough about the helicopters to know what the deal is with that. But I will talk about the F-16s in a minute, and I will say the F-16 thing is kind of ticking me off too, because already the U.S. is poo-poo-pooing again the whole F-16 situation. Oh, hey, Tiger Fred. You're good to see you in Guadalcanal again. Thank you for the gift there. Who's at Bonnie? Little more here. Russia has charged a Ukrainian citizen with the murder of the submarine commander who was killed the other day while jogging in Russia, in Krasnodar, Russia, which is basically right across the Kerch Bridge. You then get this Krasnodar, Russian region right here. He was jogging the other day. This is the Russian submarine commander who was responsible for sending the missiles last year. I'm sure it was cruise missiles to, it wasn't Venezia. Was it Venezia? No, it wasn't Venezia. It was, hang on. I'm going to get this. Oh, I didn't write it down. Shoot. Which town was it, guys? Was it Venezia? It was Venezia. Yeah, it was Venezia. The town they hit last year over here that killed, got like 23 civilians, I think, including 23 or 28 civilians, including 3 children, including that poor little girl with Down syndrome who had her little doll with her. I mean, just horrific story. The submarine commander likes to go jogging. And I was showing you guys the other day, he posts his jogging schedule on Russian social media. So it literally shows the path he takes for jogging. Thank you, Cheryl, on Russian social media. And the head of Ukrainian military intelligence saw it and clicked it to click that he liked it. So basically, just like Facebook and or just like these systems, right? You can click like. Well, it shows that the head of Ukrainian military intelligence liked this guy's post showing the path he takes, and the guy got basically jumped on the path and shot 4 times, which certainly sounds like he's in trouble. Not the Moskva was sunk already at that point. The Moskva got sunk in April, and this was happening. This was July of last year. Yep. So it was a different submarine. Would it be funny if it was the Moskva, but different submarine? Actually, different. I'm sorry. The Moskva wasn't a submarine anyway. The Moskva was a ship. This was a submarine. So in any case, they've arrested a Ukrainian and accused him of doing it. It's possible. I mean, because frankly, it sounds like a Ukrainian probably did it, right? But who knows? Thank you, Nicholas. Belarus. So Belarus says that the Wagner group, the Wagner mercenaries, remember, the Wagner group tries to overthrow Putin, and then it's kind of not clear what the heck's happening with them, right? They're not fighting anymore in Ukraine, from what we've heard. They weren't showing up in Belarus. Thank you, Maverick, for the necklace. They weren't showing up in Belarus. Now it seems that the Wagner group is training Belarusian troops, supposedly, in Belarus. There were photos released today showing it. It's a little another story with this, though. The Wagner group is in Belarus, but at the same time, there are reports today that Russia has removed all of its regular traditional military troops out of Belarus at this point. Now, a little bit weird. Russia, who is that? Storm. Thank you, Storm Gaming, for the crown. A lot of people thought, Institute for the Study of War, among others, a defense think tank, thought that Putin had troops in Belarus in part. I mean, he was training troops, but in part to slowly take over the country, because he wants to basically annex Belarus originally and make it part, or eventually make it part of Russia. And the idea was slowly putting more and more troops as a slow motion invasion of sorts. So the idea that Putin has now turned around and removed all of his troops from Belarus, I haven't seen any analysis on this to date, but I will say it sounds to me like this could be another sign of manpower shortages in Russia, that they don't have enough troops. And I think at one point, I don't know if I have the number here, they might have had up to 12 or 16,000 troops in Belarus, something like that. I think you've now lost 25, mind you, you've lost 25,000 Wagner troops in Ukraine, and Putin pulls out maybe 16,000 troops out of Belarus. I think he's taking the troops out of Belarus because he needs them for Ukraine. And again, he really doesn't want to have a draft or anything, because that didn't go over so well last time when up to 1 million men fled the country. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. What else here? Oh, Benji and Tom, and sorry, who's doing and Mando for the hat. Thank you, guys. Putin did an interview, and he was talking about the Wagner group, said a lot of things about this. Oh, thank you, Jen. Said a lot of things about this, and added that the Wagner group doesn't exist. He was kind of trying to downgrade it, or like kind of dismiss it. Thank you, Jetta Mom and Boy Mom. He says Wagner does not exist. There is no law on private military organizations. It just doesn't exist. Now, little weird thing for him to say. Thank you, Adventures. And who is that? And Villian. That's a tough one. Villian. I was saying villain. That's kind of a weird one. Thank you, Ellie. Because just a couple weeks ago, remember, thank you, Dawn, Putin was saying that he had provided up to $1 billion to Wagner in the last year, right? So to fight in Ukraine. Well, if he provided them $1 billion in the last year, now he's trying to dismiss them and saying, thank you, Dawn, by the way, and my Z06. Now he's trying to claim, oh, they don't even really exist. You know what I mean? It's like, which one is it? Are you trying to dismiss them as not mattering? Or are you saying they've used $1 billion of your money, right? Now, technically, he's playing a little bit of a technical legal game. Thank you, Bonnie. And my 06. Wait, it's already clearing up too. Yeah, that was a fast one. Wow. That was a nice one though. Because I can tell right here, but you can even see it's starting to get lighter. Oop, you guys, well, there you can kind of see. You guys can see it's finally getting lighter. It's a little bit weird because he's almost playing a semantic game, because technically there were no laws on the books allowing private military companies like Wagner to exist. So Putin isn't wrong saying they don't really exist, but give me a break. I mean, give me a break, right? I mean, I don't know he's clearly trying to basically downplay them and denigrate them, but it's just kind of weird. Oh, thank you for the dumb. Who? Oh, no, there's another one that doesn't show. I was going to say thank you for the Dumbo ears, and it doesn't. It's not sticky. So because I missed it at the top, thank you, Poppy. I missed it at the top. It didn't show me who gave me the Dumbo ears. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, whoever did that. Thank you, Miami, for the rose. That's annoying to me. Anyway, thank you, whoever did the Dumbo. That annoys me when it does that. Anyway, let's look at was there anything else about Wagner? Oh yeah, that's it for Wagner. All right, next. Oh, I can do a quick pitch. Sorry, quick drink of tea, and then a quick pitch for my membership stuff, and then we'll talk about the grain deal, and then we'll talk about F-16s. Thank you, Ernie. So one of the ways that I ask folks to support my work is signing up to be a member, just a monthly member, a monthly contributor. Just means giving a certain amount of money per month. The YouTube folks is very easy. You can see the folks with the green names, Carlos, Greg, Karen. Those are folks who signed up for a monthly contribution. Thank you so much. You can do it very easily by just clicking the $ at the bottom of the comment box. It brings a couple options up. Super chat, super stickers, those are the questions, and just super stickers are just a nice gift you can give. And the membership is a monthly membership. Click it and it'll just show you a couple options. There's no commitment, obviously, just a couple options you can use. If you do that, you will become a VIP member of the Discord. That gives you access to join our Saturday show that we do for all the paid subscribers. You guys would watch that on Discord. It also gives you access to the VIP auctions, which is in addition to our public auctions we do on the Discord community. But more generally, it means you're supporting my work with a monthly donation, which I would very much appreciate and can use. The rest of you on Twitch, you can donate on my Aravosis account on Twitch. Thank you, Maverick. That's my at Aravosis, my last name. You can also use Amazon Prime, remember, to do your donation. So use that if you want on Twitch for free. For you guys on TikTok, easiest thing to do is use Ko-fi. You can find the Ko-fi link in my bio on TikTok. That's my Linktree link in my bio. Thank you, TikTok novice. Click the Linktree link in my bio, and it takes you to a page of all of my links. At the very top, you'll see Ko-fi or coffee. Click it, and that's another way you can donate. You can give a one-time donation or monthly, and if you do a monthly donation, thank you, Sexseed, for the gift, by the way. If you do a monthly donation, it will make you, too, a VIP member of my Discord, which means you get to join our Saturday show. You get to do our VIP auctions, etc. Anyway, appreciate if you guys could help. If you'd consider it, I know it's not for everybody, and I know not everybody has the cash, but if you've been watching for a while and you've got the money and could afford like $7.99 a month, I would appreciate if you'd consider it. So thank you, Sean, there. Again, TikTok, you can go to my profile, click the link. First thing that comes up is Ko-fi. Check it out. For you guys on YouTube, obviously, use the box at the bottom, click the $, and use membership. All right, guys, and dobry wieczór. Marie, good to see you. All right, let's keep going here. Moscow denies agreeing to extend the grain deal today. That was a little weird. So the deal to keep exporting Ukrainian grain, it's a deal that was reached last July by the United Nations, Ukraine, Turkey, and the Russians. And up until then, the Russians were basically threatening to torpedo any ships that were taking grain from southern Ukraine, Odessa and some other ports right here. The Russians were threatening to torpedo it all. Finally, in July, they got the agreement. They could export the grain because it helps people around the world. It helps Africans. It helps Middle East. It helps Asia. By the way, China is the number one recipient of Ukrainian grain, of the exports. Very interesting. Thank you, Russell, for the hat. They reached a deal, but the Russians insisted the deal keep updating every 2 months, 3 months. So, and every time it comes for an update, the Russians whine and want something else. Thank you, Mark, for that. This time, thank you, Mike, the Russians wanted they wanted the financial sanctions lifted so that their banks can do whatever they want, because they're having a really hard time selling oil and weapons to countries like India. India's got like $1 billion backlog of, I don't know if it's oil or weapons that I think it might have been weapons that the Indians were buying. Of course, you really want to buy Russian weapons at this point in life? People should have learned their lesson on that front in the last year. Russian weapons aren't exactly worth very much. But nonetheless, the Indians have not been able to pay any of their purchases because the banks are all, right? The Russian banks are all shut down to international banking. So the Russians are trying to get an exemption. The UN offered a minor exemption or a smaller exemption. Putin initially agreed, and now he's claiming he didn't agree. I think he's pulling an Erdogan, where basically they're trying to get even more. And frankly, nobody should be giving them anything. We should have put those boats under those boats. We should have put those things under uh, uh, sorry, my neighbors are messaging about the rain. We should have put those boats under UN flag, under NATO flags, under American flags, British flags, German flags, French flags, and just said, you know what, Russia, I dare you to sink us. I freaking dare you. Thank you, Maverick, and just let the grain go out there anyway. But we don't do that. Thank you, PP. That's the name for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Now let's talk F-16s. So kind of a weird F-16 update. Quick sip of tea. As you know, the Ukrainians are Americans promised F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Ukraine desperately wants them. The U.S. has been kind of pretending from the beginning, thank you, H63, pretending from the beginning that Ukraine didn't really need them. The Ukrainians were like, we really need them, right? And frankly, one thing I've learned over the last year is typically when Ukraine says it needs a weapon, Ukraine needs a weapon, and we ought to start trusting them on these things at this point. Nonetheless, we dragged our feet forever. Finally, 2 months ago, the U.S. agreed to provide F-16s to Ukraine. That there would be training initially. We dragged our feet on mind you, this was May, okay, that we finally said yes. Thank you, H63 and Victor. We said yes in May. Finally, a couple days ago, we agreed on how to do the training. It took us from May to July, 2 months, to make up our minds on how to do the training, who would do it. It's going to happen with, Jesus. It's going to happen. My poor dog is in the bathroom freaking out. It's going to happen with Netherlands, with Denmark, and then Romania, I believe, are going to help do the training. And the next step, of course, is getting the actual planes to the Ukrainians, which isn't going to happen for a while because the training could take 6 to 8 months, right? Even if they start training in, she's actually in here with me still, poor thing. Even if the training starts in August, that's going to take you to Christmas at least. Well, I wanted to read you something. This was from the Kyiv Post, quoting an American lieutenant general talking about the F-16s, and this really bothered me. Listen to this. The battlefield conditions in Ukraine are currently not ideal for the employment of F-16 fighters, said Lieutenant General Douglas Sims, the Director of Operations of the Joint Staff on July 13th, which was yesterday. The conditions right now for the employment of the F-16s are probably not ideal, the general said at a press briefing. I mean, the Russians still possess some air defense capability. They have air capacity. You're going to try to go out there? All right, go for it, kiddo. They have air capability, and the number of F-16s that would be provided may not be perfect for what's going on right now. Okay, let me say, I am not going to claim to be an F-16 expert, and I am not going to claim to be a Ukrainian counteroffensive expert, okay? What worries me is everyone is saying that the conditions are very difficult for the Ukrainians in this counteroffensive because because they don't have the planes they need, and among the planes they don't have are F-16s. Everyone's saying that. We finally agreed to give the F-16s, and now we've got American generals saying publicly, the conditions really aren't ideal. And he even hints that that we may not be giving them until they are ideal. And the number of F-16s that would, here's a joke too. He even says that part of the problem is we're not giving them enough F-16s, which means we probably won't give them any. Listen to this. The number of F-16s that would be provided may not be perfect for what's going on right now. Am I wrong, or is he not saying we need to give them more and we're not giving them enough? So if we give them the amount we promised, it's actually going to be a huge problem because they may get shot out of the sky because we're not giving them enough F-16s, right? But I mean, am I wrong here, guys? Let me read this again. Seriously. Again, I'm not a military expert. I am an English language expert. Thank you, Kelly. Listen to this again. The conditions right now for the employment of the F-16s are probably not ideal. I mean, the Russians still possess some air defense capability. They have air capability, and the number of F-16s that would be provided by us may not be perfect for what's going on right now. He's saying that we're not giving them enough F-16s. And because of that, the number of F-16s we give them will be in danger because we're not giving them enough. But of course, the intimation is we may not give them the F-16s because the F-16s we're giving them are bad for right now because they're not getting enough. So maybe we'll just hold them off entirely. That's what I hear that saying. That's what that says. Okay? I mean, that pisses me off. And honestly, if they need more F-16s, give them more F-16s. If they need Warthogs as well, A-10s, give them A-10s. But I mean, you know, we are not, I mean, we're sitting here and we're doing all of this training for the Ukrainians on how to do combined arms training, right? Which basically means you've got a lot of different weapons and a lot of different men and women and figure out how to use them all together, right? How do you use your infantry with your tanks, with your armored fighting vehicles, with your drones, with your cruise missiles, with your artillery, with your aircraft, various aircraft? How do you use it all together, right? We're training Ukraine how to do that. But when it comes to the weapons we provide them, we don't seem to be providing them in just this, in thinking of the combined arms and saying, well, okay, if there are not enough F-16s, then give them the F-16s they need. If it's not enough planes to defend the F-16s, then give them the planes they need to defend the F-16s. But what the heck are we doing with this? I really don't understand this. I mean, I really don't understand this. And again, the problem is Ukraine is going to this war is going to drag on forever because we seem to be wanting it to drag on forever. I mean, I make the cancer example where, in America, cancer treatments, all medical treatments are very expensive in America. You could easily have multi-million-dollar cancer payments in America. People were going broke. People are still going broke, actually, even with insurance, because insurance won't pay for a lot of stuff. Horrific cost for cancer patients here. It's like saying, okay, you've got cancer. It's curable, but it's going to cost $1 million. I'm going to give you $250,000. Or the doctor, we're going to give you $250,000 worth of treatment because we're just not comfortable giving you all of it. And then a couple months later, he gives you $500,000. And then a couple months later, $600,000. And now the doctor's up to $750,000 worth of treatment he's giving you. First of all, the doctor says this week, why are you asking me for more? You're being really greedy. You should be thankful. All you do is ask for more when you need $1 million treatment of cancer, right? You need $1 million in cancer treatment or you're going to die. He's giving you $750,000 and he rightly says, you've given a lot of money. I've given you a lot of money. Why are you complaining? Right? Okay. But also he hasn't given you everything you need to win. And then he's surprised that it's taking forever to cure you. I mean, that's what's happening here. I think it is a damn good analogy because we're not giving them what they need to win. We are going slowly because we're afraid of Putin. Now we're going slowly. Who the hell knows why? I don't know why we're going slowly now. But we're not giving them what they need to win. This war is going to drag out, and we are going to have a problem with either the election in America, which, by the way, that election happens November of next year. Okay. And I got to tell you, too, in America, for those of you who aren't Americans, the presidential election has already started. We have a 2-year campaign season for the presidency, literally 2 freaking years in this country. It's ridiculous. I mean, my friends in France were telling me how it's like 3 months or 6 weeks or something crazy. And I was like, oh, my God, 2 years. So the jockeying has already been going on for all of that right now. Right? Worrying about it. But we could lose control of the presidency and Donald Trump could get in there very easily next year. And then we can kiss off all aid to Ukraine entirely. This is just, it just ticks me off because it's stupid. And I don't understand what the problem is at this point. It's really ridiculous. In any case, I read those kind of things and I go, this general's not just speaking out of turn. He was told to say this. They're trying to put the idea out there that once again, these F-16s, you really don't want them. They're not going to help, right? But I love they're not going to help because there aren't enough of them. That was just the best thing, right? I mean, here, let me help you. But maybe I won't help you, because I'm actually not giving you enough to help you, and therefore it won't be helpful. So maybe I won't help you. Rather than thinking, well, why don't you just give me enough to help me? That might be rather than giving me nothing, perhaps you could give me enough to help me. Like that's one way of doing it, you know? I mean, my God. All right. A little more positive news potentially. An alleged Russian intelligence officer, Vadim Konoshenok, accused by the U.S. of smuggling American electronics and ammunition to Russia, has been extradited from Estonia to the U.S. Now, I hear that, and I immediately think the Americans wanted him in order to trade him for Evan Garashevich. I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly. The Wall Street Journal reporter who the Russians kidnapped. And you've also got Paul Whelan as well, who's still being held, by the Russians. Basically, again, they basically kidnapped him. But that's what I hear when I hear that. I think that is going to, you are watching a potential spy swap happen right there, Anyway, per Sky News, the U.S. is planning to repurchase decommissioned Hawk air defense systems, missiles it sold to Taiwan, and redirect them to Ukraine. That would be really cool. It's a medium-range surface-to-air missile system. Oh, thank you for the hat there, Eli. I did see that. In January, the U.S. reportedly asked the Israeli government to transfer its old Hawk anti-aircraft systems that are in storage to Ukraine, but Israel declined. I'm a longtime defender of Israel. They have been horrific in this war. Absolutely horrific. And they've really become whatever. Ticks me off because Sasha, I'm sorry. Oh my God, she's sitting here and she's literally, I can show you guys. This is why I feel bad. She's literally sitting here and just panting. I'm sorry, Sash. Absolutely panicked. Oh, so bad. My dog freaks out at the thunder and I gave her a little, it's okay. You want to come here? No. Oh my God, she's just sitting here staring at me. I feel so bad. Nothing I can do. It was thundering. Now it's nice out actually, but it was thundering nonstop. Actually, it's okay. Come here. You all right? Come here. It's okay. Come here. Sasha, all I can help is I can pick you. Oh my God. She doesn't like being picked up either. If I pick her up, it can help, but come here a second. Come here. Here, why don't you come to the bed? Come here. Come on. Hey, children come first. Thunder shirt doesn't really, I've got a thunder shirt. It never really did much for her, I found. Come on, Sasha, right here. Here, come here. Go, you can go here. Here you go. Okay, here you go. Come in here. I'm moving her bed over. There you go. Come on in. Here. Come on. Sorry, guys. All right. I'm putting her bed here. She's like standing by me, doesn't want me to pick her up, but she's totally freaked out. So she is by me panting. So I put the bed, go lay down. Oh my God, poor thing. I may pick her up, but she hates being picked up too. If I pick her up, she's not going to want to stay picked up. She'll want to be just, my mom's dog likes to be picked up. Like when my mom's dog would always bark when I was in Chicago, you pick her up and she's quiet. My dog, you pick her up and she's like, let me down. But she can't quite decide what she wants because she's freaked out. Sorry, dog. All right. New York Times reports, this was good. New York Times reports that the training of Ukrainian troops on American M1 Abrams tanks is already been happening in Germany. They've already had 8 weeks of training. They've got 4 more weeks left. And then this was rather interesting. U.S. troops will play the role of enemy Russian forces confronting about 200 Ukrainian tankers in a practice run, which will be used to judge how prepared the Ukrainians are. Pretty wild. I mean, and imagine having to take on American troops. That's going to be pretty wild. But that's good at least. The training is done in 4 weeks, and we hope when the training is done, it means the Ukrainians are actually, ready, but we'll see. Final story. This is kind of a funny story. The final story. So Putin is supposed to go next month to the BRICS summit. It's the summit of Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, China, South Africa, all of them meeting in South Africa. But South Africa has signed the the Rome Conventions, the protocols about the International Criminal Court, meaning that at least legally, South Africa is committed to arresting Vladimir Putin if he steps foot in their country. Now, the South African government clearly wouldn't do that because they're kind of in bed with Putin, but it's making them very embarrassed. The opposition is angry, and it's making them look bad on the international stage. So the South African government has reportedly this week been telling the Russians, please don't come, and Putin is insistent on coming. because Putin is afraid, especially after the coup. I think Putin is afraid of looking weak, looking afraid, right? If he doesn't show up in person, it means he was afraid of getting arrested. So interesting dynamic going on there, just to keep an eye on. The final thing, just to tell you really quick. So one of the things that you guys you can do to support, well, not just to support me. I've got a Discord community. It's free. You can go check it out. It's discord.aravosis.com. You can go there. It's free. We've got some auctions and stuff that are free. We've also got the paid auctions, the private auctions for the VIP members, the subscribing members, the members who, as I told you, go to Ko-fi and pay, or you pay on YouTube, or you pay on Twitch, or on Discord itself. But we have a lot of cool auction items. I want to show you. I got a new one today that I'm very excited about. We get a lot of cool auction items from Ukraine. Some I buy, others are donated, and we auction them off. And 50% of the proceeds from the beginning, we've been giving back to Ukraine, because I just felt bad, even though, I mean, I need the money to do this work because I do it full time. I still felt weird. So we do the auctions. Half the money I send back to Ukraine, Vlad used for all of our causes we're working with, and half the money goes to support me to pay my bills, etc. And I wanted to show you the latest auction item that arrived today, because I'm very excited. I just put it up today. I'm very excited. I looked everywhere for these to find really, really pretty ones. And this one I think is absolutely gorgeous. It's the Ukrainian, Russians make this too, but this is Ukrainian for sure. It's what is it? It's, I need my glasses on to tell you the style. It's so pretty, these things. You have to see the pictures. I don't know if this does it justice. It's absolutely gorgeous. The style is Petrikivka or Petrukivka. But it's the same on both sides. They're Christmas ornaments, but obviously you could use it for anything, Oops, let me show you guys. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, you've got to sort of see it in the right light, but handmade out of wood, very hand painted. I mean, they're absolutely stunning. But anyway, I found a store. I was looking all over for something really good quality. This is a really nice quality one. So basically, I buy stuff that I want to keep is sort of the rule. And this one and a couple other ones, I bought a few different ones. This one and a couple other ones, I bought because she's a very good artist. Like I said, I only make sure I get the artists who are really good, because some people make stuff and it's kind of garbagey. Anyway, two more things really quick. We've got a piece of a Russian fighter jet shot down over Ukraine last year. Very cool. Nice titanium piece of the jet that is for auction as well, with a neat little box and a description about where it was shot down. And I did some research, and I've got a nice 2 or 3 page essay I wrote about the plane and the pilot. So it's all about him. Really interesting sort of backstory. The Azov style bracelet, made from the last batch of steel from the Azov steel plant, which is where the Azov style steel plant, which is where the Azov fighters fought for 2 months. Remember the 2,000 Ukrainians who fought the 14,000 Russians for 2 months? They made, the Ukrainians made bracelets, and they've got the Ukrainian trident on it. So that's very cool. And I won't show, I mean, the last little thing, because I do love this, is this Russian hat, but it's really neat. The Ukrainians got this Russian hat in Ukraine. It hasn't been used, though, which I kind of like. Normally, you like this stuff used because it's kind of cool when it's used. I like this one because it literally hasn't been used. It still has the store label on it. And basically, it was part of the Russian supplies in Ukraine. And, they got overrun and they lost their supplies. So the Ukrainians got it. This one I think is neat. I mean, it's got the Russian thing on the front. Now, this one, what's really cool is the buttons. I was showing you. Oh, thank you for the gift. There's the buttons, because it's that sort of Imperial Russian. It's a little hard to see on TikTok, but with the two birds, I don't know if it's the 2 eagles looking both ways, or the 3 eagles. What is it? That thing, right? That's sort of this traditional Russian thing. It's really cool. They're really cool. Anyway, there's lots more stuff. If you want to see the stuff we've got, go check out. Is it bulletproof like their helmets? No, but I actually have some Kevlar at some point I'm going to auction off. I have Russian Kevlar, believe it or not. But that's for another day. Yes. No, this hat is definitely not bulletproof, because the thing is, this hat is, it's one of their it's a summer wear hat. So it's meant for warm weather. It actually says on here I forget let me look, the name. It's their BTK group. A BTK Group? No, I think BTK Group is the name. Furashka, Letnaya, BKPO, or whatever. It's their summer hat, basically. Yeah. So they wear it in warm weather, which is why they had it in Ukraine. All right. But go check it out in the Discord. Like I said, discord.aravosis.com. You don't have to pay to go to the Discord. You don't have to pay for the auction. I mean, you have to pay for the auctions if you win, but you don't have to pay to see the auctions. Only the VIP auctions are the ones that are for paid supporters as a thank you for them. But the public auctions are for everybody. So go check them out. They're very cool. Like I said, I lost my shoe here. I try to get stuff that basically I would want to buy. And pretty much every auction item I sell is something that I want to keep. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you one more thing, because this one, I've actually surprised nobody's bid on it yet, because I thought this was beautiful. And I liked it because it's war related, but it's not, like a piece of Russian metal from a plane. It's not like a negative connotation, right? This I really think is beautiful. It's first day of issue stamps from the Ukrainian government. The stamps are down here. This is a blow up of it, and it's devoted to peace. And it shows a Ukrainian girl with the doves, with the flowers, a little house up here, which I think means home, and it says peace at the bottom. And at the bottom are the stamps. So I'll show you guys. At the bottom are the stamps, and it's the first day of issue. And they're stamped first day of issue, the two stamps you can see there. I'll show you guys. Again, this lighting is a little hard because it's wrapped up, but I think this is really pretty. And I've been surprised nobody's bid on it yet, because like I said, I think it's really, I like it. I think, because also I like that it's pretty, but it's peace. You know what I mean? Like I must admit, I cover the rest of this stuff. I like the military stuff. I like the war stuff, but there's also an aspect of liking stuff that's a little, it looks depressing to you. Oh, I don't think so. I thought the opposite. Yeah. No, to me, it was like peaceful in the flowers and springtime in her home and everything else, Anyway, there are levels of YouTube membership, Amy. I have considered it, Amy, and I did. Go check it out. Click it and see. Click it and you'll see. You can click all the way to see the membership without actually paying, so to speak. So click the $, click memberships, and you'll see the 3 levels. And without making the levels too confusing. Okay, guys, let's get rolling. Questions. Now it's going to, oh my God, the sun's going to come out now. This is hilarious. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put up my sheet on the window to cover the sun, and then take your guys' questions. Okay, we'll do questions on TikTok in the across the screen. YouTube, you know how to do them over there. Hang on. This is funny. This storm just came and went. Oops, one sec here. I put up some pins to cover the sunlight, because otherwise it gets way too bright and way too warm. But this at least helps to kind of to mute it to a degree. There we go. Can you stay here? Oh, come here. Oh my God, come here. Oh my God. Okay. All right. I'm going to hold her a little bit here too. Oh my God. Okay. Don't worry. You're okay. All right. We're going to hold Sasha a little bit because she's a little freaked out. Okay. That's okay. All right. So we can have, at least it helps me to, it's not perfect. Oh, you know what? Shoot. 1 second, Sasha. I forgot. I do 2 things. I also hold the shirt up here. Oops. 1 second, guys. Like I said, the sun came out, so I've got to do this. One moment. Oops. I'm doing this one-handed because I've got the dog. There we go. Okay, that's the other thing I do. So I do both of those to basically block the sun so that you can see the show. Oops. Yeah, that's better, because now I can adjust this light, and now this fills in. See, there we go. Now this fills in for everything else. All right. There. Oh, the poor thing. Oh my God. Thank you, Cynthia, for doing that. All right, guys. So yes, you can put the questions on the screen there on TikTok. You guys can do them there. Feel free to do super chats or regular questions. I don't mind. And obviously, as well, if you want to do TikTok gifts, I am always raring to go. Let me see if I can get her just to sit here. Okay, stay there. There you go. I'm trying to get her just to stay here, but we'll see if she does, because, like I said, a little freaked out here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why did we claim Russia was in an all-out civil war a few weeks back? Because Russia was in an all-out civil war a few weeks back? and then it petered out because Putin negotiated, which was incredibly weak of him. Rather than crushing it, Putin negotiated with them, and now they're kind of living free. Oh, and then, excuse me, and then Putin made them agree to go into exile in Belarus, and then they told Putin to go F himself. So now Putin, they're not even in exile, right? Some of them finally went to, okay, Sash, hang on. Some of them finally went to Belarus, but people like Prigozhin aren't even there. So that's why we said, because Russia was in a state of civil war a few weeks ago, and now they're not. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to turn into a state of civil war again, because things are not looking rosy for Mr. Putin right now. Is Prigozhin dead? We don't know. There was a picture that came out today of him in a tent. There's really no evidence of him being dead. There are no intelligence reports suggesting he's dead. One American general, retired general, said, that he thinks he's dead, but he was just basing it on his opinion of Putin, which makes sense, right? Basically his opinion of Putin, saying, I'm moving my dog's bed under here to see if he'll come under, basically saying, Putin would normally kill people like this. And I agree with that. But I also think Prigozhin's gotten away with murder for months now with Putin, because clearly Putin's worried about Prigozhin for some reason, whether it's just because he controls the Wagner group, and basically any guy who's got his own troops, you got to worry about, But also, actually, there's another reason too. Prigozhin's got a really big fan base on the far right, on the nationalist right of Russia. I compare it in many ways. I would compare it to MAGA here. And when I say MAGA, I mean in terms of the influence, where basically Putin's base is this nationalist far right. Imagine them being MAGA to Trump. Prigozhin is beloved by the MAGA far right in Russia. Well, it would be like Trump having somebody he wanted to get rid of, but it's somebody who the MAGA people adore. So Trump can't turn on them because he's going to lose his MAGA people, right? It's kind of the same thing with Putin. Some of the thinking is that that Prigozhin is so well loved by these nationalist guys that are also part of Putin's base that may be part of the reason Putin is basically trying to slowly make it look like, oh, we were all deceived by Prigozhin. He stole money and this kind of garbage, right? But that's at least, hey, I know. Still shaking. Her quarter pill did not help, but what do you do? News on Surovikin, still in jail. They picked him up right after the coup or during the coup, and he's been under interrogation since. This is the general who's friends with Prigozhin, who was picked up after we think U.S. intelligence probably leaked it. Information saying that the general basically was informed of the coup before it happened and may not have told Putin. So now Putin's really pissed, and the guy has been in detention for 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, Jack, you can ask questions here because TikTok got rid of the Q&A feature, so there's no other way to do it. Please do keep the I was going to say, please do keep the guns coming. Deb was writing about guns. Please do keep the guns coming. Please do keep the gifts coming. Don't keep the guns coming, but please do keep the gifts coming. I appreciate it. What else, guys? More questions. Will they rebuild the steel plant? You mean the Azovstal one? I don't know. It's a huge steel. I mean, the thing is, it's a monstrosity of a steel plant. So I don't know. I don't know about either side, really. Thank you for that, Jen. I don't know about either side. I don't know, Jack. Haven't we? Jack says, have we seen the British? He says we haven't seen the British Challenger tanks being used by Ukraine yet. The U.S. tanks are not there yet. The U.S. M1 tanks, they're still training on them. The other U.S. vehicles aren't officially tanks. There's Bradley fighting vehicles, but they're not tanks, for example, or Strykers. I don't know if the Strykers are American or not. I think they are. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we would be seeing them, so to speak. Thank you, Valerie, for that, for the gift on TikTok, right? Would we actually be seeing them anyway? You know what I mean? I mean, let me put it this way. Most of the updates we get on the war are oral, both. We hear the news every day. We don't actually get visual news every day of this strike, this advance, right? The Ukrainians are now closing in on that town. We don't actually get visuals of the town. So, I mean, I'm not surprised we don't see the vehicles because we never see the vehicles, like we don't, I mean, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we just, oh, thank you, Flower Lady. Oh, that's kind of oh my God, Jack and the Beanstalk. Oh, you're crazy. Thank you for that. That was a really nice one too. Thank you for that. Oh, interesting question from Thanatos. Thanatos says, do you think 3,000 US troops will be sent to Ukraine? What I think he's asking about, or she, thank you, Paul Gray, for that. What I think you're asking about is there's a report that Biden has hasn't really called up. I'm not sure what the correct words are, but kind of he's created the authority to call up like 3,000 National Guardsmen and women to possibly go to Europe. And what I was reading was he's not doing it yet. It simply gives him the ability to do it. And it was being done because true, Gabriel, that's true. It was being done because of the strain, but we believe, thank you, Best Worst, of the strain on American troops. Okay. In Europe overall. The idea is we increased our troops a lot in Europe once the war happened. I want to say 20, 30,000, I think that we increased it. And we are planning on keeping them there. After a while, they get tired. They've got to be rotated. They've been rotating them. It's putting a lot of stress and strain on the troops we've got. Therefore, he's holding out the option to move these 3,000 National Guard troops to Europe as well. My suspicion is either they could take the place of U.S. troops that are there. Thank you, Leslie. That was a very nice, the monkey gift. Thank you. Either the 3,000 could take the place of U.S. troops that are already there. In other words, 3,000 come back, the National Guard go. Or if we want to add more troops to Europe to defend the other European countries, we could send 3,000 National Guardsmen instead of 3,000 regular U.S. military, right? That's what it is. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised because think about this. One of the things that didn't get a lot of coverage this week is that one of the things NATO did, in addition to all the Ukraine stuff and the Sweden stuff, NATO came up with its first defense plan. I'm not sure what they called it, but their first defense plan that they've had to sort of authorize in 30 years. Because ever since the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, we weren't that worried about the Russians. And I mean, the Russians were a pain in the butt, but we weren't worried about the Russians invading Europe, which was always the concern throughout the Cold War. Thank you, Arifa. Arifa, good to see you. I know your name. Thank you for that. Right. So we were worried about the Russians during the Cold War invading across Europe. Then Soviet Union dissolved. We thought Russians weren't going to do it. Now we're worried again about the Russians invading, Europe. Thank you, JR. This new defense plan has lots of details of what we would do if the Russians invade the north, the middle, the south by Greece, etc. I would not be surprised if, as a part of that plan, right, part of the plan is, what do you do if the Russians attack? How many troops do we need? Blah, blah, blah. But another part of the plan has got to be, do we have enough troops in Europe to dissuade the Russians from invading, to convince the Russians not to invade? It is entirely possible that we and our European allies, especially the Poles and the Baltic countries, right, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, the ones on the front lines, are going to say, we need more troops. I mean, they've been asking for more troops already. We need more troops. Thank you, Cam. And we may need to, NATO overall may need to station more troops in Eastern Europe. Thank you, Jen. And that very well could be America stationing more troops as well, because, folks, we're back to the Cold War again. We are. Russia is back to being the big evil empire that it used to be. I mean, it never really stopped being it, but they're back to being who they are. And we may need to increase U.S. troops levels in Europe to guarantee the peace, just like we did for decades before. So that's what the 3,000 is about. We don't need to. Let me put it this way. Because the rumor the crazies are sending out there is Biden sending troops to Ukraine. I got news for you. If we're going to war with Russia in Ukraine, we're not sending 3,000 National Guard troops. That ain't who we're sending. We're sending the Marines, right? We're sending the Air Force. We're not sending 3,000 no offense to the National Guard, but we're not going to war with 3,000 National Guard troops. That's not our opening salvo of war in Ukraine. But again, the bad people there in the U.S., the bad side of the debate, is trying to do everything they can to convince people that this war is such a dangerous idea. So they're trying to convince you that that's what this is. So there you go. Paul Gray, thank you for that. Okay, I missed it. So that's good. I missed it from Greg. Okay. Um, Kelly says the U.S. will send troops to Poland and the UK, Canada. Oh, the U.S. will send troops to Poland. Use your punctuation, Kelly, comma, and the UK. That could even use a semicolon. And the UK, Canada, France, and Germany will each have a country to guard. Right, right. I would not be surprised at this point if NATO decides we've got to have more troops now, and we go back to where we were. And this, by the way, is also why Biden needs to keep messaging much more about what's going on, because the American people have got to be prepared for this. They've got to understand that the Cold War is back, that Russia's back, and it's bad. I mean, yes, Ukraine's kicking their butts, but they still have nuclear weapons. I mean, Ukraine's kicking Russia's butt, but it's still causing massive damage and massive deaths, right? So a war with Russia would still be very dangerous. We would destroy Russia if we had war with Russia, but it would still be a horrific war. It would be a bloody war, but it would still, but you need the troops to try to dissuade it. Marines are already in Romania. Oh, that's interesting, Gabriel. I guess I'm not surprised because, right? I mean, other Eastern European countries are going to have, whether it's U.S. troops. I don't know which countries have U.S. troops. I didn't realize Marines were there. That's interesting. Somebody was saying when Sweden will join NATO. We don't know. Turkey is going to be basically the way NATO accession happens for a new country is you've got to have all the NATO countries agree unanimously. The only two who haven't agreed yet are Turkey and Hungary. The agreement happens via the legislature of the country, the parliament of the Congress of each country. And the Hungarians are waiting for the Turks, and the Turks have been playing games. Well, the Turks finally came through this week and said, okay, we'll accept the Swedes, no problem. But then Erdogan the next day, the president of Turkey, turns around and says, well, I know I said yes, but Sweden is really going to have to convince, oh, thank you, who's that, Smith? Thank you, B. Smith. Sweden is really going to have to convince the Turkish parliament. They're not there yet. First of all, Turkey's a quasi-dictatorship at this point. Erdogan wants the Turkish parliament to do it. The Turkish parliament will do it. It's total BS, right? I mean, he's in control of the parliament. I mean, it's total BS. But the Turkish parliament isn't there yet. Sweden's going to have to do a lot of work over the next 4 months to convince the Turkish parliament that they're worthy of joining NATO. So basically, Erdogan said that we're back to the point where Sweden is going to have to prove itself by doing more and more and more and more things. So we're back to where we were. So I don't know. I think the U.S. is going to have to privately beat the bejesus out of Turkey to convince it. Thank you, Maverick, for that. To convince it to come along yet again, Anyway, what else? More questions. U.S. is sending troops that are in the Pacific to reinforce NATO. That I don't know. Okay. What else? Bosnia. I'm really not up on Bosnia becoming a member of NATO. I just don't know anything about it. Thank you, Jen, for the vote. Does Putin stay in power after the war? That's an interesting question. It's questionable whether Putin will stay in power now. I mean, he certainly seems to have been weakened by all of this. It depends how the war ends. It depends when the war ends, right? I mean, if the war ends either soon or later and Russia doesn't have a lot to show for it, they're going to lie to their people and say, we won. But if Russia, for example, loses all the land that it took from Ukraine, what does it have to show? I mean, actually, if Russia loses, Russia took Crimea in 2014. It took this land and much more in this war. Now it's down. Ukrainians got all this back. This Russia still holds. Okay. If Ukraine gets all of this back, let's say it just gets all of this back, doesn't get Crimea. Crimea, Russia got in 2014. This war from last year, or this invasion of last year, Russia got all of this. If Russia loses all of this, it means the invasion of last year accomplished absolutely nothing. I mean, he's going to say, oh, it demilitarized Ukraine. We destroyed all their weapons. Well, people aren't stupid. They didn't destroy Ukraine's weapons. Ukraine now, basically, they permitted Ukraine to modernize its weapons, right? Because Ukraine got rid of its weapons and now it has NATO weapons, even better, way better than the Ukrainian weapons, right? So it depends on what terms does the war end? If the war ends badly for Russia, he could lose his job. But it's Russia, so elections don't really work. It would have to be the military powers, the intelligence community, people like that, maybe the oligarchs, maybe the billionaires stepping forward and kind of together pushing him out. But it certainly didn't help. Thank you, Maverick. It certainly didn't help the whole issue with Prigozhin and the coup a couple of weeks ago. That made Putin look really weak, which is good, Wilson, if the Cold War is back, does it help Putin? Oh, does it help that Putin is old? I mean, first of all, is he? Right? I mean, in Russian and Soviet terms, the guy's only 7. Alexa, how old is Vladimir Putin?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, 60 years old.
No, he's not. That's ridiculous. Okay, we've now learned that Alexa's not the place to ask. That was ridiculous. He's not 60. How old is Vladimir Putin? 70. What? Okay, that was bizarre. Okay, he's 70. That's what I thought. I'm not very happy with Alexa. That was really freaking weird. 60 years old. Yeah, Putin's 70. That's not old for any leader, let alone Biden's going to be 80. Okay. And for a Russian leader, you could be 1012 in Russia and they'd keep you in power. You know what I mean? I mean, look what they did with the Soviets. Putin, by all appearances, Putin's very healthy. I mean, maybe he has cancer, maybe he doesn't. We don't know. But I don't think we can assume he has cancer, right? He could stay in this job another 10 years, 15 years, potentially, right? So I don't, I would not have, it's funny you say that because I look at Putin's age and I say he's only 70. His age isn't a factor because he's young. And also when you look at him, he doesn't look old. It's not like, Biden, let's face it, Biden looks old when you see him. Putin doesn't look old at all when you see him, So his age is no factor at all, I think. Yeah. Just my take. Oh, more questions. What else we got, guys? I know Putin hacked. You're right. Putin hacked Alexa. Exactly 60. Look at that. I also, according to one submission from somebody, don't you check the sources? I'm a little surprised. I thought Alexa did better than that. Google's very good at that. Alexa, who do you support in the war in Ukraine?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
She doesn't know that one. Okay. It was worth a try. It was worth a try. Yeah, that was kind of weird. That was part of my Amazon Prime Day purchase. I wanted a nice new Alexa, one of the big ones for music in here, which has been very nice for music in this room. And I figured I could use it during the show because my Google often isn't loud enough, but Google is so much more accurate. What else we got, guys? Any more questions? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. I will wrap it up if you don't have questions. And then we'll just go back to tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow morning, we've got our coffee talk at 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. Remember, for the paying members, for paid subscribers. Thank you, Sean and Mike, both. For the paid subscribers on TikTok and the paid subscribers on YouTube and Twitch and Discord. So all of you guys join us tomorrow morning. All of you guys, you all come to the Discord community and look for the weekly thing. You guys, thank you, Jen, for the Happy Friday. You guys just joined me on TikTok itself. And Vlad, if he's available, Vlad had, he was doing trainings all week of new volunteers with the charity he works for. Thank you, Lori. So that's why Vlad couldn't join us last weekend. Thank you, Maverick. But I'm hoping he can join us this weekend. Would be nice. So hopefully. All right, guys, I am sensing a lack of questions, which is fine. Can Ukraine invite a NATO base in its country? Yes. Yes. NATO probably won't. Well, okay. NATO's not going to do it right now. Well, it would be NATO troops. It wouldn't be like a NATO base, right? NATO troops are, I don't even know that we have any. Do we have bases in Europe anymore? Do Americans have bases anymore? I think, well, sure we do. We still have some, we still have like Ramstein isn't American run, is it? I guess we do. Yeah. Isn't Ramstein? Okay. We still have a lot of bases in Europe. I would say like Ramstein is still American, isn't it? Okay. In Italy, in Northern Italy. Okay. Okay. We still do then. Yeah. Okay. So yes, we would have, is Ramstein, well, I knew Ramstein was the base we used, but I wasn't quite sure if it was like an American base or how it was considered. Okay. That's why. All right. Blah, 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 bases. Oh yeah. What a base. There's no way NATO right now is going to put troops in Ukraine because we're afraid of getting dragged in. Right. The other concern is that once the war is settled, I think NATO should put troops in Ukraine once the war is settled, right? They absolutely should, because it may stop, and Romania has one too. Okay, cool. Because it would certainly help to stop the Russians from invading again if they were afraid of killing Americans, and Russia won't like it, but what's Russia going to do, right? I mean, the thing is, we've been thinking all along, what do we do, right? Oh my God, what do we do? Google says we have 8 bases in Europe. Well, more than that, from what these guys were saying. But we should be starting to think from the perspective of what can Putin do, right? We put bases in Ukraine after the war. What's he going to do? Bomb our bases and go to war with us and lose the war, by the way, because our conventional forces are better than his? Boom. He's not going to do it. Is he going to nuke us? Well, if he nukes us, we nuke him and we both die. Well, okay, he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to die. So what exactly would Putin do? So restart the war with Ukraine? He's not going to do that right after the war ends. I mean, we are operating from such a perspective of fear with Putin without, I hear you, kid, I know, without fully appreciating what's he going to do, Anyway, all right, let me do a quick summary of see, it turned into a beautiful day. Now, actually, this is nice because when we finish the show, I can take the dog out. And when she goes outside, it calms her down because she kind of appreciates the rains going when she goes outside and looks around. So that's good. All right, let me do a quick summary of the news and then we're done, guys. And then join me tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, US, on TikTok for the paid TikTok subscribers and on Discord for the paid YouTube, Twitch, and Discord subscribers. All right, day 505 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. Ukrainian forces shot down 23 drones overnight. The U.S. is very close to decision on the ATACMS long-range missiles for Ukraine, according to the Ukrainian president's office. Ukrainian forces advanced over 1,700 meters, or almost a mile, or a little over a mile, in the Melitopol direction in a week, according to the Ukrainians. Ukraine also claims it used HIMARS to destroy the S-400 missile system that hit the pizzeria in Kramatorsk, killing 13 people recently. Russia has charged a Ukrainian citizen with the murder of the submarine captain who was killed while jogging. The same submarine captain who launched the missiles against Vinnytsia in Ukraine a year ago, killing a slew of civilians. Belarus says the Wagner group is now there helping train Belarusian troops. Moscow denies agreeing to extend the grain deal to continue shipping grain out of Ukraine. F-16 update, a really weird series of quotes I gave from a U.S. general basically saying that, now is the wrong time for F-16s. They wouldn't be helpful because we're not giving enough F-16s to Ukraine, which then begs the question, then why aren't we sending more F-16s? A very weird question, a quote from the general. The Estonia is sending an accused spy, a Russian spy, to America, which I think is going to be used to trade for Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter that the Russians kidnapped. Per Sky News, the U.S. is planning to repurchase decommissioned Hawk air defense missiles it sold to Taiwan and redirect them to Ukraine. The New York Times reports that training of Ukrainian troops on American M1 Abrams tanks continues in Germany. The Ukrainians have already trained for 8 weeks on the M1s, have another 4 weeks to go, and then once they finish, they're going to have to play a war game against American troops playing Russians, and the Ukrainians have to basically beat the Americans in the tanks. And finally, Putin is in a bit of a pickle because he's supposed to go to South Africa next month, but South Africa is a member of the Rome Treaty, which basically says that they agree to the International Criminal Court arrest warrants. And because Putin has received one for his acts in Ukraine for the war crimes, South Africa is supposed to arrest him. Now, no one thinks South Africa is going to arrest him, but Putin really wants to go, and South Africa really doesn't want him to go because they don't want the embarrassment of him going and them not arresting him. So that's causing a fun little tension there for Putin and for South Africa. All right, and there you go, guys. All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the mods. Thank you, everybody. Didn't get nearly enough Facebook trolls today. What happened to you guys? Are you afraid? You afraid you're losing the war? Yeah, all the little Facebook trolls were not out. I'm impressed. They will train Ukrainian pilots. Oh, they will. Yes, I did hear that, Gabriel. Gabriel is saying they will train Ukrainian pilots in Romania on F-16s. Correct. They're supposed to do trainings with Denmark, Netherlands, and then they're building a school in Romania where they will also do the training. Yep, that's what I had heard. Thank you, Pilar. I don't know what the timing is on whether it's going to take a little bit of time for the school to be built, but I did hear that too as well. Yep, for sure. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign off so I can take the dog downstairs to chill, and then I can come inside and maybe make a little pesto or something. I want to make a quick dinner. But the war could go on forever. It's hard to say, Ryan. The war could go on for years. We're not giving Ukraine what it needs. I think the war could go on for years. If we gave them what they needed, it would, well, it's a little late, frankly. We should have given them what they needed earlier on. And the war could have been over soon. But we dawdled, we went slowly. And again, like I said, we gave them a lot of stuff, but we gave them a lot of stuff slowly over time. And if you give people slowly over time, it's not enough for them to win. We didn't want Ukraine to win. We'll talk about that another day. I've talked about it. We didn't want Ukraine to win. We wanted a tie. We wanted a tie. And now we kind of want them to win. So we're in this weird, how much do we help them? Let's give them F-16. Let's not give them F-16. Let's give them tanks. Let's not give them tanks. You know, anyway, it's kept me in business. Yeah, I don't quite look at it that way. Well, let me say one thing too. I make a hell of a lot more money working for bad people like businesses and everybody else than I do here. This is not exactly a cash cow doing things trying to help people, which is what I do. To my chagrin, but what do you do? I prefer this kind of work is much more important to me than the other stuff, even though the other stuff made me a lot more. Working at the United Nations made me a hell of a lot more money than working on Ukraine. But the United Nations is a horrible, horrible, horrible institution made up of selfish, corrupt people. And I'd rather not, even making a lot of money like I did, it wasn't worth it. This is worth it. So, there you go. All right, guys. Thank you all. Have a good night. I will see you tomorrow. The paid subscribers tomorrow, 11 a.m. New York City time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's DC time. All right. Best way to donate. You can go to the Linktree profile in my profile on TikTok. Just look at the Linktree link, click it, and there's lots of options there. I mean, the best would be Ko-fi doing a monthly subscription, but if you want to do one time, you could still do via Ko-fi. You could also, there's PayPal, there's Venmo, there's Cash App. Any of them are great. So any of them are great for a one time. And if you wanted to sign up monthly, which I would prefer, but you know, I'm not going to force you. You could use Ko-fi for that, which is the top link. But they're all there. The link in my profile on TikTok. And for the rest of you, it's aravosis.com. We'll show you all my links. All right. Okay, guys. See y'all. All right. Thank you.